Good afternoon from Nairobi, Kenya's capital. It's 1 p.m. and you are tuned in to The Ambassador. I am your ambassador, Paul Mathenge. This is the space where we debunk global diplomacy and geopolitics, starting with the 194th UCI Congress officially opened on Thursday in Rwanda's capital, Kigali, as the countries welcomed 115 members representing UCI national federations. The Congress coincides with Rwanda hosting of the 2025 UCI Road World Championships, held from September 21st to 28th, marking a historic milestone as the first time the event has taken place on the African continent. Let's have a look.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the...
Speaking at the opening ceremony of the Congress, Rwanda's President Paul Kagame expressed gratitude to riders and fans who had traveled from across the world.
I first of all want to thank UCI under the capable leadership of David Apache for choosing our country to host both the 1994 the Congress, 194th Congress, and the Road World Championships. The 125th anniversary of the UCI is a significant milestone. All the more so because it marks the first time that these events are held in Africa.
Kagame also emphasized Africa's deep connection to cycling, noting that the bicycles have long been a vital mode of transport and livelihood across the continent.
We are proud that with 108 nations competing, we have an outstanding global turnout. From Africa alone, we have 36 countries, which is the highest participation from our continent ever. We are grateful to all the riders and fans who have traveled from near and far to be here. From the biggest cycling nations to the smallest, your presence is what makes these events truly meaningful.
UCI President David Lapatient welcomed the National Federation members and praised Rwanda for its role in hosting the World Cycling Championship.
It's a very big honor to have you here with us today. I sincerely thank you for taking the time to be with us. It's the first time in 125 years that the UCI Road World Championship take place in Africa. And I'm delighted it is here in Rwanda. What an incredible occasion. The crowds, the passion, the smiles, the enthusiasm. This week in Kigali is unique for all of us. The images and memories will stay with us forever. The 132 national federations here in front of us, in the room, asked me, Your Excellency, to thank you and to thank Rwanda for making the history.
Kagame also added, stressing that investing in Africa taps into one of the fastest growing and the most youthful region in the world, with potential in producing elite riders and developing cycling-related industries.
When Africa or another non-traditional host is chosen for a global event, the reaction is skeptical and frequently dismissive. There are those who believe that hosting events of this magnitude should be a monopoly reserved for a few. These reflexive attitudes are outdated and wrong.
Davis Karani for GBS News, Rwanda.
And now to the story that will bring today is the diplomatic lens. At the United Nations General Assembly, Somalia's President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud has declared his country prove that global solidarity works. He praised international support in the fight against terrorism, while crediting Somali forces for their resilience against extremist groups. Susan Nganga with the full report.
It was at the United Nations headquarters in New York where Somalia's President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud took the podium during the high-level debate of the General Assembly.
That multilateralism and global solidarity can make the world a better, safer, and progressive place. This lived experience is our own government's inspiration for a determinedly working for a more just, peaceful, and progressive world within the UN Security Council during our membership, because we know that we are truly better together.
The Somali leader also paid tribute to the country's armed forces and the local defense units, praising their courage and resilience in the fight against Al-Shabaab and the ISIS.
The unwavering commitment and courage of Somali security forces and the local community defense forces for their sacrifices, resilience, and success against Al-Shabaab and ISIS, the two most dangerous terror organizations in the world today. This will continue until we achieve complete victory and harmony in our country, our region, our continent, and the wider world.
President Mohamud concluded by stressing that Somalia's progress has been driven by a people-centered and a rule-of-law approach.
Our national experience is that nothing is better than a people-centered, a people-led, guided by the rule of law to build a unified and prosperous nation in our country.
The address comes as Somalia continues its term as a non-permanent member of the United Nations Security Council, where the president says his government is committed to advancing peace and justice. Susan Nganga, GBS News.
And now that story will bring us the diplomatic lens. Stay tuned. Now, moving on, a deeply controversial blasphemy case in Nigeria is once again making headlines. Yahaya Sharif Aminu, a musician sentenced to death by a Kano State Sharia court in 2020, has been granted permission by the Supreme Court to file a late appeal. As Elvis Muyodi reports, the case has sparked national and international debate, raising urgent questions about the clash between religious law and Nigeria's secular constitution.
Nigeria Supreme Court has granted Yahaya Sharif Aminu permission to file a late appeal after he was sentenced to death in 2020 by a Kano Sharia court for alleged blasphemy. The case has sparked widespread debate, highlighting tensions between Islamic law and Nigeria's secular constitution.
The justice system in Nigeria should be protecting people who peacefully express their faith, not punishing them with death.
Nigeria is a very unique country. We're multicultural, we're multidimensional, we're multi-religious country, and we shouldn't be criminalizing or bringing in laws that criminalize religion. It has no place in a country of 218 million people. It's about time we get to the Supreme Court. It's about time that we have a final pronouncement on it in Nigeria.
Nigeria is a highly influential country in both Africa and the Muslim world. This case is not only important for Nigeria, but it could provide an example for so many other countries where individuals are suffering from these same blasphemy laws.
Sharif Aminu's lawyers argue that his trial was unconstitutional and unfair, citing the lack of legal representation and laws that conflict with national human rights protections.
You must remember that he's still innocent. He's not guilty, because the death sentence was quashed about 4 years ago at the Appellate Division of the Kano State High Court. And then we've gone all through the stairs of the various courts, and we're here now. He's still appealing, he's still stating his innocence, that he's not guilty. He doesn't want to go back to Sharia court for a retrial.
On their part, Kano state officials defend the verdict, insisting blasphemy will not be tolerated, and say public execution remains an option if the ruling stands.
Anybody that has uttered any words that touches the integrity of the Holy Prophet, we will punish him. And let me tell you one thing, this man will be executed if this court, upon the decisions of the law, will execute him.
This case now moves to the highest court, with far-reaching implications for justice, religion, and human rights in Nigeria. Elvis Muyodi, GBS News.
Now moving on, voting is underway in Seychelles as President Waver Ramkalawan seeks a second term in office, with citizens across the Indian Ocean island nation turning out to elect their next leader. Our reporter has more on the story.
The polls opened early in the morning in several districts, drawing long queues of voters eager to cast their ballots. Election officials confirmed that materials had been distributed on time and that polling stations were adequately manned. President Ramkalawan, who came to power in 2020 after defeating long-serving former President Dani Faure, has campaigned on promises of economic recovery, job creation, and tackling corruption. Opposition candidates had earlier accused the ruling party of not doing enough to ease high cost of living, a concern that has dominated political debates in recent months. Observers from regional and international bodies arrived earlier this week to monitor the process, ensuring transparency and fairness in the tightly contested election.
I want to say to Patrick Ermini, please wake up from your dream, because on Sunday it is we who will celebrate victory.
Seychelles, with a population of less than 120,000 people, has enjoyed relative political stability since gaining independence from Britain in 1976. However, its tourism-dependent economy was hit hard by the COVID-19 pandemic, leaving many citizens frustrated by slow recovery and rising unemployment. Ramkalawan's unexpected 2020 victory ended decades of dominance by the Seychelles People's Progressive Front, marking a turning point in the country's political history.
Our welfare, social support and welfare was much better. People had more money. People were richer. And today, corruption is still rife. Victimization is still rife. And nothing has improved for the ordinary Seychellois.
The results are expected to be announced within the coming days, with the Electoral Commission promising a swift and transparent tallying process. Regardless of the outcome, analysts predict that the next government will face mounting pressure to stabilize the economy, attract investment, and address the growing social challenges that continue to shape everyday life in the archipelago. Molin Rono, GBS News.
Now, from that story, the ambassador will take a short break. We'll be right back with more as we debunk global diplomacy and geopolitics. Stay tuned.
Last year, you are nominated for the Digital Creators Awards. Yes. Yeah, and you bagged second place for Creator of the Year. Yeah. Tell us about that experience.
But by the time I was leaving university, the vice chancellor had bought my art piece.
Wow.
To hang in his office.
Wow.
Yeah.
The difference between pointillism, stippling, dot mandala, and dotilism.
Okay.
Mostly do art with dots, with lines, and I like to just think of myself as a versatile artist when it comes to patterns. What has words but never speaks?
Hi kids! Welcome to Kids Mind, where we learn, we laugh, and we explore. So kids, are you ready to listen to our today's Bible story? Are you ready to listen?
You're happy and you know, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know, clap your hands.
Samson was a mighty man was he. Samson was a mighty man was he. Samson was a mighty man was he. Between a want or a need, which one is more wise?
So it's anime and cosplay in Kenya.
I came to know about anime when I was a teenager, because that's when I knew, oh, it's not a cartoon, it's an anime. And I came to realize, oh, it's a whole thing and it's a whole culture and it's a whole community behind it.
I remember I used to watch Dragon Ball Z, but that time I didn't know it was
anime.
I thought it was a cartoon.
Yeah.
Oh, let me go watch cartoon.
Anime has been there, it's just growing with time and people are getting to know more about it.
This has been going on since 2016. Like, people have been meeting up for anime and DC, whatever nerdism you engage in since 2016.
Cosplay, basically, what it says is costume
Role play.
Yeah, so you dress up as a character from an anime, and that's just it.
So character likeness, how much do you look like the character?
Some parents see anime as just cartoons.
You're like them,
which is true. What's your take on this perception?
Hizo cartoons zako zenye unawatch.
Also, it's cartoon. Me doesn't bother me at all. Most of the most popular anime we enjoy today, Jujutsu Kaisen, is for kids. Naruto is for kids. One Piece is for kids. So yeah, it's never bothered me when people are like, anime is for kids, anime is cartoons. I say this as someone who's been watching anime for 15 years. Anime is cartoons.
World Marathon. Bro, hapa sasa ndio kuna maneno. Una feel nini ni mbaya na Manyala? Bro anadefeatiwa man. Siku hiyo Manyala sio Manyala bana.
Hakuna kitu Manchester inaweza fanyia sasa. Mwekezaji kama vile last time niliwaambia, Kenya Arsenal kichwa. Kenya Arsenal over 1.5. Kenya Arsenal first team to score.
I have been fencing for the last 1.5 years now. Fencing haina age. You can start as early as at a very young age, and you can also play at a very old age.
Kuna pale mshari represent Kenya yenye tunasema.
The game yenye nilienda last ilikuwa junior championship na ilikuwa Angola.
Fencing is a sword sport, but we don't call it a sword, we call it a blade.
Ili kujua mengi, jiunge nami Omala Brian kwenye GBS TV Sports Sugu Show. This is where passion meets the game.
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome back to The Ambassador as we break down the development news for you and get the bigger picture on what's happening globally. And now, Spain has said it will send a warship to protect a Gaza aid flotilla attempting to break the Israel blockade of the territory. The move comes a day after Italy deployed a naval vessel for potential rescue operations after activists on board the flotilla said they had been targeted by Israeli drones. Meanwhile, Palestinian Authority Mahmoud Abbas has delivered an address to the UN General Assembly via a pre-recorded video after he and other members of the delegation were denied entry visas into the United States. In the port city of Cartagena, the Spanish Navy prepares for a mission unlike any in recent memory. A patrol vessel is settling sail to join an Italian frigate already in the eastern Mediterranean, both tasked with escorting a civilian flotilla headed to Gaza.
What I would like is for the aid that the flotilla is bringing to Gaza to reach Gaza, and for none of the people or vessels involved to suffer any harm. We are working on this, which is why an Italian ship has gone there as a precaution, which has approached the flotilla. We are negotiating to try and find a way out that will allow us to achieve the best possible result with the arrival of aid in Gaza and, on the other hand, not putting the Italians in any danger.
Spain's foreign minister insists the convoy poses no threat, describing it as a peaceful humanitarian mission that must be protected under international law.
I don't know exactly what might happen in the coming hours and weeks because of the accusations that the government of Israel is making against those members of the flotilla from 45 countries. I have to tell you that we are concerned. We are going to send a ship to ensure that we can rescue them and they can return them to Spain. I say to Israel, Spain will protect its compatriots diplomatically and politically.
The global Samud flotilla is one of the largest attempts to break Israel's blockade. More than 50 boats carrying activists, lawmakers, doctors, and religious leaders have been saved from European ports, demanding access for food and medicine to more than 500,000 people who are suffering from famine.
We will not accept the offer from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Israel to send to Cyprus, to Lebanon, our aid, because we know how Israel managed to make traps with aid. So we will reach Gaza, and if we don't, it will be because the violence of Israel is again striking us.
In Athens, demonstrators urged the government to offer protection to the boats and recognize a Palestinian state.
We demand safe passage for the mission and the delivery of aid. It's a basic obligation under international law.
But the risks are growing. Those on board accuse Israeli drones of attacking their boats in international waters south of Greece, damaging several vessels and disrupting communication, with Israeli warning that no ships will be allowed to enter Gaza's waters. This mission has become about more than delivering aid. It's testing the gap between the world's rhetoric and its willingness to act. Reporting for GBS. Now moving on, President Donald Trump has said publicly for the first time that he will not allow Israel to annex the occupied West Bank, rejecting appeals from some far-right politicians in Israel who want to extend sovereignty over the area and make it. Let's have a look.
All of the top leaders in the Middle East, and we had also a very good conversation with Bibi Netanyahu, trying to get the hostages back, and we're trying to get the end of the Gaza situation. It's really bad, very bad. And we think it could happen. Maybe it could happen pretty soon. We want the hostages back. We want the bodies back. And we want to have peace. I will not allow Israel to annex the West Bank. No, I will not allow it. It's not going to happen.
Did you speak with Netanyahu about this directly?
Yeah, but I'm not going to allow it. Whether I spoke to him or not, I did. But I'm not allowing Israel to annex the West Bank. There's been enough. It's time to stop now, okay? We have great relationships with a lot of countries. And you may be even more happy when you find out, because we spoke with Bibi Netanyahu today, and we spoke to all the leaders in the Middle East, who are great people, and we're getting pretty close to having a deal on Gaza, and maybe even peace, which would be the first time in about, 2,000 years, I think? In the region, I'd say the first in, Steve, what would you say, first in 2,000 years, or maybe 1,000?
So, 2 millennium.
It's a long time.
And now, moving on, President Donald Trump has signed an executive order to sell TikTok U.S. operation to American and global investors. The deal is valued at $14 billion and aims to meet national security goals set in 2024.
And here's your final copy.
TikTok, owned by China's ByteDance, faced a U.S. ban until its American operations were sold. The app has over 170 million users in the U.S. and Trump credited it with boosting his re-election campaign.
I had a very good talk with President Xi, a lot of respect for him. Hopefully he has a lot of respect for me too. And we talked about TikTok and other things, but we talked about TikTok and he gave us the go-ahead. You know, it's run by American investors and American companies, great ones, great investors, the biggest. You don't get bigger, I don't imagine.
The new order delays the ban, giving time to finalize the sale. Investors include Oracle, Silver Lake, and others. ByteDance will hold less than 20% of the new U.S. company.
The most important thing is that it does protect Americans' data security. It ensures TikTok is still accessible. And on this question of the algorithm, which we've heard this a lot, what this deal ensures is that the American entity and the American investors will actually control the algorithm. We don't want this used as a propaganda tool by any foreign government.
The app's algorithm will be retrained and monitored by U.S. security partners. Analysts says key details remain unclear, including control of TikTok's core technology. Trump says the app will now be American-operated all the way. Reporting for GBS TV, I'm Ibrahim Said.
And now, it's time now for the diplomatic lens, where we focus on the global issues shaping diplomacy and international affairs. At the United Nations General Assembly in New York, leaders have gathered under the theme Better Together, 8 years and more for peace, development, and human rights. The high-level debate began on September 23rd and runs through this week. It aims to renew multilateral resolve, to confront conflict, climate change, debate, inequality, and to protect human rights. From the podium, Somalia's President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud declared his country living proof that solidarity works. He praised international partners for their role in fighting terrorism and hailed Somali forces for their resilience. But his words left the hall with bigger questions. If solidarity can push extremists back in Somalia, why can it not end the war in Sudan? Why not lift Haiti out of despair? Why not silence the guns in Gaza and Ukraine? Kenya has pushed for innovative climate finance. Small island states have asked, how much longer will the world watch as their homes sink beneath rising seas? Developing countries have repeated their demand for fair trade and debate relief. Yet, the same haunting doubt remains. How much of what is promised here in New York ever makes it home? So, will this summit achieve its aim? Observers say the debates have been loud. They call for a reform, unmistakable, and recognition of shared crises that strikes cautions optimism. But others warn, if leaders leave with speeches and no binding action, then the General Assembly may be remembered for more symbolic than sustains. And so the question remains, when the lights of New York fade, will solidarity follow us home? Or will it remain just another echo inside the walls of the United Nations? And that's today's view through the diplomatic lens, highlighting the global issues and shaping diplomacy and international affairs. And now, that's how we wrap up today's edition of The Ambassador. I am your Ambassador Paul Mathenge, and it's been great having you with me here on GBS TV Africa. Stay tuned for updates throughout the day, and be sure to join me every Thursday and Friday as we continue to debunk global diplomacy and geopolitics. Thank you for your time and company. Until then, goodbye.